Sorry. It's just semi-official that you sit down. Okay. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا لا إله إلا الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الحمد لله أحمده واستعينه واستهديه واستغفره وأؤمن به جل وعلا ولا أكفره وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him. We seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and messenger. Allah sent him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. This way of life known as Islam will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. Amma ba'd fa inna asdiqal hadith kitabullah wa awtaqa al-ura kalimatu taqwa wa khayrul milali milatu Ibrahim wa khayrul sunani sunatu Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa ashraful hadith dhikrullah wa asanu al-kasasi hadha al-Quran wa khayrul umuri awazimuha wa shayrul umuri muhtatatuha wa asanu al-hajju hajju al-anbiya wa ashraful maut katlu shuhada wa amma al-amma dalalatul ba'da al-huda wa khayrul amali ma nafa'a wa khayrul hadi ma utba'a wa shayrul amma al-kalb. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said the most truthfulest discourses is Kitabullah, or the book of Allah. The most trustworthy word is taqwa, or fear of Allah. The best of the communities is the community of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. The best way of life is the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The remembrance of Allah is the most glorious of all things. The best of all narrations is Quran. The best acts are those requiring the highest degree of will and determination. The worst acts are those based on innovation. The best way of life is the one adopted by the prophets of Allah. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most wretched blindness consists of going astray after finding the right way. The best acts are those that yield benefits. The best guidance is that which people may be able to follow. The worst blindness is the blindness of the heart. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna Allah yahmuru bil adli wal ihsani wa itai dil kurba wa yanha anil fashai wal munkari wal bagi yaitakum la'alakum tadhakkarun. Allah commands justice, the doing of good, and liberality to kith and kin. He forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. فَمَنْ يَرِيدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Those whom Allah in His plan willeth to guide, He opens their breasts to Islam. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ حَقَّ تُقَاتِهِ وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. O you believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and do not die except in a state of Islam. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lil nasi ta'muruna bil ma'rufi wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. You are the best peoples raised up or evolved for mankind, enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong, and believing in Allah. وَاتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And hold fast all together by the rope which Allah stretches out for you, and be not divided amongst yourselves. أَقُولُ قَوْلِي هَذَا وَأَسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهَ لِي وَلَكُمْ. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khairul mursaleen. Muhammadin an-Nabi al-Ummi. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Yaqulu Allahu ta'ala fil Quran al-Kareem. Inna Allaha wa malaikatuhu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu. Sallu alayhi wa sallimu tasliman. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Maulana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. By the English meaning, in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, hast thou not turned thy vision to the chiefs of the children of Israel? After the time of Moses, they said to a prophet that was among them, appoint for us a king that we may fight in the cause of Allah. He said, is it possible that if you are commanded to fight, that you will not fight? They said, how could we refuse to fight in the cause of Allah, seeing that we were turned out from our homes and our families? But when they were commanded to fight, they turned back except a small band. But Allah has full knowledge of those who do wrong. The prophet said to them, Allah hath appointed Talut as king over you. They said, how can he exercise authority over us when we are better fitted than he is to exercise authority, and he is not even gifted with wealth in abundance? He said, Allah hath chosen him above you and had gifted him abundantly with knowledge and bodily prowess. Allah granteth his authority to whom he pleaseth, and Allah all bracing, knowing of all things. Of course, this is a common situation with people who have been oppressed, and they would like for a king or a leader to be appointed for them. The reason of this appointment, they have lost wealth, home, family, and all those things that mean something to us. They've lost those, and they want to regain those things. So in this case, they're asking Allah, appoint for us a king or a leader, right? That in those days, it was a continuous line of prophets. So they wanted, or they needed, a prophet. This is what they thought. Send us a prophet who will take care of all of our business. So Allah is saying, so what if I appoint somebody? Y'all gonna fight along with him? Well, how could we not fight with them when we, of course, when Allah asks a question, he knows the answer already. But he's putting it to them, so they'll have to think about what they're asking about. And so they would be responsible for what they're asking for. You know what I mean? Now I'm putting on you, you asking for this, now I'm gonna give it to you, and you're responsible for that gift. This is what you asked for. I didn't just swoop it down on you. I am giving you what you asked for. But they had something different in mind. So their prophet said to them, Allah has appointed Talut, or Saul, as king over you. And they said, how can he exercise authority over us when we are better fitted than he is to exercise authority? You haven't given this guy money, wealth, or nothing. So Allah says to them that I have given him strength, stature, power, and bodily prowess, and hikmah. So Allah have given him what Allah knows that those people need to get out of the situation that they're in. It goes on as we skip a little. So even when the prophet that they've been asking for, or king, now they have Talut and his armies. Allah said, Allah will test you at the stream. If any drinks of its water, he has that he goes not with my army. Only those who taste not of it go with me, but a mere sip out of the hand is excused. They've been the stream is there to test, to separate. There's always some process, either through volunteerism. We got a serious mission. Anybody want to volunteer? Take one step forward. Well, a lot of people that know the game, they'll take one step back, and the dummies standing there that ain't moved is the ones, oh, yeah, thank you very much for y'all. But anyway, that's one of the processes, that when people are asked to go on a serious mission, who would like to volunteer? Because a volunteer is already made up his mind, I'm ready to deal with this. And I know the cost of this mission. So they all drank. When they crossed the stream, all of them drink except a few. Now, a little sip out of the hand, just to wet you, that's all right. So all of the people drank except a few. When they crossed the river, he and the faithful ones with them, they said, this day we cannot cope with Goliath and his forces. So now there's the people, they cross the stream. The people, almost everybody didn't drink, but the few devoted ones that took a little sip out of the hand, even they were questioning this situation. This is the same story of David and Goliath that we've always been hearing about. But those who were convinced that they must meet Allah said, How often, by Allah's will, had a small force vanquished a big one? Allah is with those who steadfastly persevere. When they advanced to meet Goliath and his forces, they prayed, "Our Lord, pour out constancy on us and make our steps firm. Help us against those who reject faith." By Allah's will, they routed them, and David slew Goliath. And Allah gave him power, quwwah, hikmah, gave him power, wisdom, and taught him whatever else that he needed. And did not Allah check one set of people by means of another, the earth would indeed be full of mischief. But Allah is full of bounty to all the worlds. This is a common story. We know about it now. So, but we want to look at it too in our situation today that we live in. Okay, we're commanded to stand up for the Quran, stand up for the Sunnah, and also stand up for the historical process that Allah have granted us to see. Travel in the earth, right, and see what was the end of those before you. So Allah is also instructing us to also take care of Him and your responsibility to Him and to the Sunnah of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the historical process that I have made available to you. What has been the trends of history? What have been the personalities in history? What have been the situational realities that people had to face over and over again throughout history? What are the things that gave those people success? And what are the things that caused those people to fail? Today we live in one of those exact environments. So what are we going to do, or what should we do? Okay, a lot of people are surprised with things that are going on in the world today. If you've been coming here a little while, you would automatically know one thing about it: we are not surprised about anything that's going on in the world today. In fact, we probably in some kind of way predicted it. Now, we might think, man, the Imam is a good predictor. That boy can forecast even the weather. But it's not that. The Quran is forecasting. The Sunnah is forecasting. The patterns in history, Allah revealed the deen to humanity with an example of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all of the other Anbiya before to be examples. The human being is here as the Khalifa on earth. The earth exists as it has, and there's going to be recurrent events going on over and over again, right, throughout your existence. And now Allah is giving you this road map, how to maneuver, where all the stops at, where the turns at, right? When is this time going to call for patience? When to move forward, when to hold back? All of that is in the Quran. If you follow the Quran in your daily life, if a leader follows the Quran and the Sunnah, they're going to be victorious. Eventually, if not right away, over a period of time, it may call for strategic sabr, patience. And sabr means not only patience, but it means the ability to hold on. It means stickability, right? It means to check, to tie. It means to contain yourself, right? So sabr has those meanings, and Allah have given us this for success. But we live in America. And the people, the Muslims, and all of those people that are running things, maybe they read something different. Now, most of the leaders are Arabic readers and reciters, and they know what they're reading on paper. But some kind of way there's something missing. What's missing? The application of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been saying. If we can figure out what Allah wanted us to do with Yusuf Ali, Maulana Muhammad Ali, and all those other translations, right? And not doing a bad job, then how can they, this is their language, how can they be missing this stuff? What's happening, right? Over and over again, how can they be missing all this hikmah, all this hidayah, right? Okay, then to go along with that, those people that are stumbling along and actually falling in the right direction, you know what I mean? They just, it's guidance, clearly, but they're stumbling along and falling in the right direction time after time. They got a record of stumbling. You know, when you walk and you stumble sometimes. These people are stumbling in the right direction. And the people that know what the Quran says are walking diligently the other way and blame you for stumbling in the right direction. And they know you're going in the right direction. So we've been talking about this period of time for a long time. And it's come upon us. You know, the Quran has over 6,000 ayats in it. And ayats are signs. And many times we ask Allah for a sign. And you think of the days of prophethood. Everybody wanted a sign. Well, how we know it's a prophet? We're going to see a sign, you know. So, right? We too get signs. We can follow them. We can learn them. We can appreciate them. Or we can use that sign that says, go up this way, and we can make a U-turn. We know what the sign is telling us. The historical process has been telling us all of our lives, which way to go. And even ourselves, for the last several years, even a decade, we've been moving right along, doing what we should, but we've been waiting for a sign too. You know, a specific sign, you know, to do certain things, right? And you don't have no idea when it's going to pop up on you or where it's going to come from. You don't know what it is, but when you see that sign, you know what it is. We live in America, and all the things that we've talked about over the decades have manifested itself right in front of us at this time. Those are the signs that we were waiting for. Not waiting for, not sitting around not doing nothing, but you know, this is your okay signal, everything is all right, just go down that way and you're going to be all right. And this is how you should handle all of this thing that's coming your way. This is how you do it. And that's the way we feel right now. Okay. This sign about David and Goliath and his forces is a historical pattern of people wanting good leadership, praying for it. But when they get it, first of all, that guy is not any good for he don't even have wealth and stuff like that. He don't have leadership capabilities. He's not soothed and bathed in the things that we recognize leaders should have. Now, Allah tell him he has bodily prowess, strength, right? He has ilm, he has knowledge, right? He has ability, and he have strength of body, strength of character. Well, to prove it, when they get ready to go, he tell them what to do. The river, is a test for them. It's a barrier. They're going to have to deal with that test. Well, we don't want to do that. A sip of water is across the river is a test. That's one of the tests of when you're going on a big mission. The commander's not going to just say, okay, everybody, let's go. He might have, if he got time, he's going to give you the special training that you need. And in this, they're going up against a gigantic army with all the prerequisites for success. You're a small army, disorganized, called together on the spot. So there's a few things you're going to need. So Allah tell them, don't drink. But the Quran says they all drink of it except a few. And Allah said if you just took a little sip out of the hand, this desert arena, a little sip of water in your hand is okay. That's the way people used to drink in those days. Those who had just filled up with water, they couldn't go. Or they could hang around in the back. See, when you're fighting in a battle, in those days, if somebody break and run, everybody else look and they break and run. So you want that line to hold on and stick. 95% of ability is stickability. So you want people to hold on with their hind teeth, as the hadith say. You want people to hold on to carry out that mission. They're going to have strength. They're going to have ability. They're going to have courage. And they're going to have to really believe in what they're doing. So all these people drank except a few. But even the ones that held back, they said, boy, it's going to be a big day out here today. It ain't going to no joke, right? So let's see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did. He said, when they advanced to meet Goliath and his forces, they prayed, our Lord, pour out constancy on us and make our steps firm. Help us against those who reject faith. And the key to this is, by Allah's will, they routed them, and David slew Goliath. And Allah gave him power. Quwwah gave him power, wisdom, hikmah, and taught him alama. Allah teaches him whatever else he willed, and did not Allah check one set of people by means of another, the earth would indeed be full of mischief. If the good people, and it says this in a few places in the Quran, do not check the bad people, stop them, right? It's going to be a lot of mischief in the land. That's why the hadith say, if you see wrong, right, stop them with your hand. And if you can't do that, speak out about it. And if you live under a dictator like, in a lot of the Muslim countries, we had them old-time dictators that if you get to talking crazy, off you go. That's the way it was in Syria. The same way in Egypt. Just about the majority of our countries are ruled by dictatorships or dictators' family. So if you speak out, in the old days, Saddam, the teachers would ask, who is this? And the kids would say, oh, that's our dear leader, da-da-da-da-da. If one of the kids said, that's a dictator, he's killing all of us, da-da-da, they'd go get their parents, and knock them over. A lot of Saudi friends we used to have long time ago. When they would be over here making trouble, right, for the kingdom, they'd go get their family and hold them. Say, well, you like your mama, you want her to get burned, just stay on over there in America talking out of the side of your mouth. If you love your mama, you might as well come on home. You know what we're going, it's a cost for everything. This is the environment that many of our people live in. Even today, they're talking about Ben Salah. I don't want to get off on him, but if you talk about a highway robber or somebody, he takes the whole family, probably 5,000 people, and shake them upside down to see how much money he can shake out of all of them, right? This is a cold guy. But anyway, by Allah's will, they routed them, and David slew Goliath. And Allah gave him power, wisdom, and taught him whatever else he willed. And did Allah not check one set of people by means of another, the earth would indeed be full of mischief. But Allah is full of bounty to all the worlds. So, again, we have a responsibility. Okay, anybody been coming here anytime knows that we take our responsibility serious. Now we're going to take it to another level. But it's going to be, what we believe Allah is directing us to do. You can see in the media that they are putting out many things that have happened in the past. They got, what's this new thing? Judas, what was it, Judas? Did anybody see that, the movie about, Judas, what's the name? Yeah, about Fred Hampton and Mark Clark. Yeah, and it came out at this time, and technically, it's almost, part of it is almost verbatim what happened to, Fred Hampton and Mark Clark back in maybe 69, something like that. The life that they were living was, Fred Hampton was different from many of the other Panthers. Y'all ever heard of the Rainbow Coalition? Y'all think Jesse Jackson came up with that, right? Why? Because Jesse Jackson went to Chicago. When? After the Greats was killed. He went there and he stole, Jesse messy. That's what he do. He's a thief, a crook. We all know that. Right? When Dr. King was murdered, some kind of way he got hold to the shirt and put it all over himself and come with the bloody shirt on, like Joseph's shirt or something. I don't know what it is. The man is a thief and a liar. And all during the 70s and 80s, especially during the 80s and 90s, everybody would say, all the white Coca-Colas and all of them people, oh, here come Mr. Jesse, we better give y'all something or he gonna come. Everything Jesse got was for himself. The Rainbow Coalition and all of that, he saw that this is what Chairman Fred was saying. Because I gave a lot of speeches with his son. His mother was pregnant, right? And the son she had took up the same, not only the same name, but the same work that he's done. He gives speeches at universities and all that. Today, I gave at least 2 or 3 speeches with him, Chairman Fred. And that place was so staked out that they had, I don't know, hundreds of bullets coming in and only one bullet going out. And they blamed them for what happened. And one of the reasons that Chairman Fred was different is because he was the first one amongst the Panthers to see the value in working with white people, Latinos, and others. Okay, now you remember they got the Young Lords up there in New York and other places. Puerto Ricans. They had the Brown Berets out in California. Mexicans. So these visionaries saw, right, that this was not just a struggle with black people. If you know, you got some of them Panther clippings, that book that you had that, what's the name, wrote out there? Huh? Yes. Do you remember those photos of Arabic writing and all of that? See, and all the photos about Zionism and all of that? See, what the people didn't know, that those brothers were going farther than they realized, right? They were going farther than they realized because they were stepping on the feet of Zionism and dictators all around the world, and then they had it written right there in Arabic, you know. And the party, when they got in trouble, they ran to Algeria, right? Now, Algeria, the FLN, that wasn't, okay, so they put they got rid of all everybody from the Mujahids that fought all during the 50s and 60s that were generals and what have you. When that was over, that struggle was over in 62, 63 and all of that, they actually got rid of the Muslim generals and what have you. They just retired them. And they had Arab nationalists. When we got to Algeria, first it was Ben Bella and then Boumediene, whatever you call him. He was in power. They were Arab nationalists. They were Arab nationalists. And if I get to rambling, just raise your hand and I'll try to get back on. Because one thing leads to another. Just to mention, though, the first language in 1845, the French made Arabic the second language in Algeria, and French the first language. I asked the brothers when I was there, I said, hey man, teach me your language. Here's what they said, learn French. That's what they said. And guess what though? You got to be careful about what you be doing. At that time, when I was there, they were sending to Egypt for teachers. So they could, they spoke Arabic at home and all that, but it was gobbledygook. It was just partial, you know what I mean, mixed with French, all of that stuff. So they sent to Egypt. They sent to Egypt to get Arabic teachers. At that time, there had been, that was maybe the 4th or 5th crackdown on Ikhwan al-Muslimin. So Egypt say, yeah, here's what we'll do. They put all the posters around the Ikhwanis, and the Ikhwanis sent all the Arabic teachers, right, to Algeria. That's why by 81 and all that, you have this Islamic revival taking place in Algeria. When I was in Algeria, it wasn't hardly no Islam going on. Just a little. I mean, they was all Muslims. You go by a store, shop, they were praying in the house. But they wasn't headed to the masjid in big numbers. They wasn't doing that. And they wasn't looking for Islam as a solution to their problems, for hidayah. They was looking for Arab nationalism, right? But they needed help with the Arabic language, so they sent to Egypt to get teachers. And along with the Arabic language, they brought them long beards, because see, you couldn't wear all that stuff in in Egypt at that time. Long beards and all of that, you just couldn't wear it. In fact, there's many places that be checking people when they come back. And so if you was over here for a couple of years and you went back to some of the countries right under the Soviet Union, right under Russia and all of that, you would have a clean face. You could tell that this guy just shaved his beard. In Turkey a few years back, they would just look at your knees. If you've been praying, your pants is shiny right there on your knee. Yeah. All them, those people who are against Allah, they already know what the signs look for. Oh, this guy got too much stuff up there on his head. This boy been bowing down. And his pants is shiny right there on his knee. I didn't mean to drift, so kind of overlook, I'm getting a little. My birthday, 76, was the other day, so that ain't old, but it's heading in that direction. Okay. Let me get back to us. We have to, or we should, from looking and waiting for signs, we have to help our people understand the realities of what's going on. We've always known for decades that they try to keep people's mind back in the past. So when you see a grossing movie on TV and in the movies at this time, building up Chairman Fred and showing J. Edgar Hoover just the way he was, although that was 52 years ago, they want your mind to go back in the past. They always been trying to keep the movement back in the past. And not today, not right now. And the movements they have today, right now, they are not real movements. You see all those hundreds of thousands of people, Black Lives Matter, right? Here today, gone tomorrow. We just go at all of them. We just take pictures of all of that stuff, right? That's their movement. They control all of that. We live under a cloud of the Kufr management system in our lives. They control everything, and they control. Why do you think the Muslims are so quiet? Last night I was watching something, and that lady, whatever her name is, I forget. But the lady, the Women's March, right? She's supposed to participate in, and then they have 2 million people down there, or 1 million people down there. And they're trying to give us a leader. They've given them a leader, but they ain't gave us no leader. Because if you was a real Muslim leader, you wouldn't be riding around in them limousines that they provide for you, and you wouldn't be given a false rendition of the history that we're living in today, right? So we can know there's a feeling that you have for who's real and who's not real. So we're going to, right in these times, we're going to get back like we would do some years ago. We used to travel around the country and give lectures. We're going to do that again very soon. Jump out on the road. But the first people we'll be talking to, the first cycle will be to the BSUs, Black Student Unions. You know what the story is? To show them how they've been misled. They movie patterns, all of those things. Remember when we was younger? Y'all remember when they want to mislead you big time, they give you Superfly. What happened with Superfly? I'm telling you, I mean, that's 72 or something. One day, all the Negroes got on jump boots, parachute boots, Tams, berets, and that movie come out. I wasn't in the country, but everybody told me what happened. I was luckily overseas. In fact, I was down there where all that stuff come from. And by the way, just to change the subject for a minute, when I was in Colombia, a kilo of cocaine may have been, for me and you, would have been $3,000. When Superfly came out, the price jumped to $4,000 for us. Because they saw them niggas, the money they make up there, and we selling them kilos for $3,000, and they selling spoons or grams for $100 a piece. Shoot. And it's 30 and 1 ounce. They making $3,000 per ounce, and they ain't selling it pure. So they probably putting 2 on it. So they making $1 zillion. People can count. I was there. I was in Colombia in those days. And I said, man, that's cold-blooded. But what did Superfly do? It gave a new style of living. Negroes jumped out of them fatigues, right, and berets, and the next thing you saw was them Lord Jesuses. That's what they, remember them hairstyles, straight hair down. The next thing he got Lord Jesuses, and Negroes are wearing maxi coats, and they all driving the kind of cars we used to drive in the 60s, them big old Cadillacs with all that chrome on it. They might have charged us $5,000 or $6,000 for $200 worth of chrome, because it all was on them, it was chrome. But I mean, we were Negroes, so hey, charge me. Anyway, there's something good comes out of this. Someone lives through all of that. Today, there's only 2, 3, 4 people that are technically alive and that they can correct that story. If we don't correct that story right now, right, some of the people that are in Africa, like Pete O'Neill, Sekou Dinga up in New York, and us, I had a unique job at that time, which that's one of the only stories that's not really known, is of a financier. Well, it was a financier. When we had that first meeting in Algeria at the Panther Party, I told them, look, if we got to have bullets, we got to have this, we got to have that. I said, so I'd already run off from America, of course, so we're going to need something to finance that. I said that what people are doing in some parts of the world, they're using dope to finance their. I said, so what we can do is we can take this crew we got here in Algeria and we can start our dope cartel, right? And we can buy all the bullets, boy, we'll be rolling. And they said, well, we can't do that because it's against our principles. I said, no, we're talking about cocaine, not heroin. In those days, people just snorted cocaine, whether it was Aretha Franklin, Red Fox, all the Hollywood folks, and the politicians, of course. Once they had a cartoon about the White House, it was floating on a cloud of cocaine. What does that mean? That was in 76, something like that. That means everybody down there is doing that. So anyway, they said, well, we don't want to do that. That's against our principles. I say, y'all all going down to the Rue de Douche Morade every day and buying hashish. Y'all is high in the kite. And I've been to hear preaching, that you can't have a revolution and staying high. I'm there now. I'm ready for revolution. And I thought they was ready for revolution too. But come to realize they was over there resting. The only people that did any physical fitness was me and Sekou Dinga. We played basketball every day on the outside of town, for physical fitness. They didn't do no physical fitness. The whole party sat there. One of them was a wino. Not bad, Connie Masterson. They even had in the budget. I shouldn't talk about people like that. But they had a budget for her wine. A little wine budget. And in France, it ain't no problem because everybody drank wine in France. French bread and wine. When you got on the airplane, French Airways or something, the first thing they give you on the tray was a bottle of wine. That's just common, help for your digestion. And it give you a little buzz too. But anyway, so the people said, no, we can't do that because that'll hurt the people. I said, okay, I'll do it myself. So I left, but I traveled around the world a while. Then I wound up in Colombia. To make a long story short, and when I returned to Algeria in 1973, I couldn't find no Black Panthers. Hardly. There's about one or two left. But they had all been put out. If you hear Eldridge Cleaver tell you the story, those Arabs didn't like us. That's not what Pete O'Neill said when I found him in East Africa. Excuse the language. But he say, pussy got us put out of. Because when I was in Algeria with the Negroes, I was a little nation of Islam. I had a few little Islamic something or other hanging around, not like down. And they say, man, the girls that really knock over is them ones that wear that stuff. They was wearing niqab, and half the people wore niqab in Algeria in those days. The dumb Negro, that's the girls to get. And then the word was getting around, get yourself one of them Negroes, they'll hook you up. Because I don't know what the Arab people was doing there, but when the Negroes got hold to them, they was hair straightening out and everything. They was probably doing what they've been trying to do back home. So Pete O'Neill told me it wasn't Arab hatred. He said them niggas was messing with the main women they was messing with was the ones that wear niqab, right? And they got put out of Algeria because of bad behavior. When I was there, they spent all the time down on Rue de Douche Morad, buying hashish, staying high. And I come there ready for revolution, and that means you got to be running around the court or lifting weights, training for. They wasn't doing none of that. They didn't want to hear nothing about it. My idea, we're going to make a lot of money. Of course, when you're young, you think that way. We're going to build an army outside of America, then we're going to go back and take over America. That was just the plan. I mean, ain't nothing I can do about being young. Nixon wasn't for that, But anyway, we live in a time today where we have to use every bit of experience that we have acquired. And we have to educate our young people. Instead of looking forward to building a new society, they got their mind back over 50 years. It's a simple trick. It's easier than 3-card Molly, right? If you blink for a second, you can't find that P, right? You just can't find it. And there it is, right? It ain't there. Because they done check you out and you blink one time and that's it. As soon as you blink, that's the key. Let them blink. You know what I mean? And when they blink, you switch up on them. And they think they is still under the one that was there, what you was looking at. Zoo, zoo, zoo. These are all visual tricks about shaping a reality that you want to create in the minds of other people. They've created a reality in our minds of hopelessness. Hopelessness. So, Black Lives Matter. Well, in reality, Black lives don't matter. Not to this system. Because they're shooting people down and choking people and putting plastic bags on their head now more than they used to. The Watts riot and all those came from people getting killed by the police, and the people say, we're not taking it anymore. Now, they shoot people whenever they just, that's the common practice. So we here have to get around to our people. We're going to start with the BSUs all over America, wherever we can find them, probably mostly in the South, up this way, they got them everywhere. To give our people a true pattern of modern history and to express to them what part they can play in it. And also the games that's been played on them. They TV, they radio, right? Everything you can imagine why there's no rebellion here in America. Every time anybody try to tell them something, whether it's Tupac or anybody, right? All of a sudden, he dead. East Coast rappers, West Coast rappers, right? And they did it. No, the white man did it. That's a bunch of jive. Every time we start something, right? Do you know the Muslims were better 40 years ago when we would travel around? The Muslims were so happy. All the immigrant Muslims would say, you're a Muslim? Yes. You know Al-Fatiha? Then we'd play with them. What? You know Al-Fatiha? Then we'd go, sure, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You know Al-Fatiha? I mean, I'm telling you, that's the way it was. This is 40 years ago. The people would be shocked. And then to be over here, can you imagine they came over here and they are alone in America? And all of a sudden, they've been hiding their religion all the time. They didn't come over here to establish no deen. All these big masajid, they just happened, the MSA just happened to build little mosques. They started having Jum'ah downstairs under the church. This is years ago. And they just began to pick up. They didn't come here to establish Islam. But guess what? They did. It shocked them. Because they didn't come to do that. And then you know who they really liked? The Negro. Because the Negro, we used to stay in the masjid doing itikaf, and all the brothers from Pakistan and the Arab brothers was teaching us, basic Islam. I mean, just the fundamentals of Islam. You may not believe it, but all this stuff about them being over there and we being way over here, that didn't exist. The Arabs, the Pakistanis, everybody loved the Negro. Because they was over here by themselves, and the propaganda on TV was anti-Islamic. And then they found some Americans that liked them. And not only that, hey, teach me your religion. Can you imagine? And that went on for years. And then we used to all be brothers. Then one of the brothers down in Tennessee, I think he started calling the brothers doctor brothers. It's a joke. In the early days, we do itikaf in the masjid. Everybody was young, you know what I mean? Just imagine. And we're just dying to learn more about Islam. Then they got their university degree, and then, you know, they became doctors and whatever they came here to become, right? So we changed from calling them brothers to doctor brothers. Now that meant something. That meant that we don't have time to stay in the masjid anymore with y'all. The other thing it means is we're students and we have young and we sleep on the floor. We're happy to come and visit with you. And then they start building communities out there, away from me and you. Do you find any foreigners right in Central City? In any city in America? No. It's out with them. Who is them? The people that don't like them, that's who they live, right? Tell the truth. Ain't nothing we can do about it. It's clear. It's a pattern all over America. The immigrant community, when at first they come to the local Negro masjid, but after, when they get ready to build their own, it's going to be out there, right? With the same people that don't like them. Now, I don't know how to explain it, but that's where they are. Right now, that's been the pattern. Okay. But the first step is for us to reach out to people that, number one, they're not wore out by all of this, our environment. The place you would find that is black campuses, you know. They at least escape this low-level stuff out here. In fact, they're the only ones that escape it, right? The ones, they escape it. And they're searching for things. They're the age, so this is the first target is those people. So that's what we have to do. And what are we going to teach them? We're going to teach them what they've been doing to them. Why? Because they have no access to any reality. They think that what they got is the way it was. So when they look at our cities, they don't know what D.C. was like 50 years ago. They didn't know that it wasn't no killings hardly at all in D.C. They didn't know that. All they can remember is what their parents said, because they wasn't here neither. Man, D.C., you get killed. When I came to D.C., the death thing was around in the 400s. The murder capital of America. And it goes from here, Philadelphia and all of that. Well, why is it, what's happening with those cities? What's happening with Detroit? What's happening with D.C.? What's happening with Oakland? Just get out your list then. What were the 10 most revolutionary cities in the 1960s? Just pull out any list or do a mental thing. Do it right now. The top 10 cities of drugs in America in the 1980s, and now, of course, was the top 10 revolutionary cities in the United States in the 60s. Top 10. It follows down. What happened? Had to slow them Negroes down. Our children that we have now in the universities are at least 2 gigantic steps behind what's going on in society. At least. Because they don't even remember, their parents remember, or were children. But remember, I'm from the 60s, I'm 76 years old. Everybody that was making rebellion in those days, they either dead or they in a wheelchair. Right. Do you know how happy I feel just to be able to get up and jump around? Yeah, everybody is from late 70s to 85 years old that was active in those days. Because I was a young one. You know what I mean? I'm trying to tell you that we see what our job is, what our responsibility is. First of all, it's a human responsibility to rescue the earth from this diabolical society. That's our first mission. Let me see, I might have something wrote down here. No, didn't bring it. But here's what we're going to do. Remember, re-Africanization of Islamic movement in North America. Re-Africanization. Not excluding other people, but remember there was a time when anybody wanted to talk about Islam, they had to call black people, right? Black imam, black. Do they call a black imam now? Absolutely not. Do you even see any of them on TV? Absolutely not. They call somebody that signed a contract to come over here. We're happy to be here, right? Immigrants or immigrants' children. And they have standard. I remember Imam Jamil was telling me in the 80s, about 83. He said they have MSA have a new memorandum basically to stay away from African Americans because we're too much trouble. I don't know if anybody else remember hearing about it, but that's what the Fat Cats was saying. All the dawah changed. They had, what's her name? Miller, called herself Umar or something, from Canada, going around giving lectures on Islam. They had Steve Emerson at ISNA headquarters, Daoud Zwink. Even 2, 3, 5, 10 years ago, who did they have as president of MSA? I'm not MSA, ISNA. Any of y'all remember? Nice white lady. I mean, and they're happily following. That was the leader of ISNA. Was the Negro abandoned? Maulana Maududi came here in 72, and the people that went to see him was African Americans. And he gave orders to his people, like Islamic Circle, ICNA. When you go to America, be with them. Our first very good contacts was with what would later become ICNA. They liked us, and we liked them. And we learned a lot about good, solid Islam. But all of a sudden, that organization have changed. The only Negroes they want are Negroes that cooperate. These immigrant groups here in America, we love everybody, but they don't want no bad, trash-talking Negroes around them. They don't even want you around. And the government is so slick that it sends people around to verify. You don't know it. The government know it. And the immigrant are wondering, why do so many bad things happen to us when the Negro is around? So right there out there in Maryland, they'll have a Negro starting trouble. He'll drive an old garbage truck up and leave it on a flat at the front of the masjid, little stuff like that. And then something developed. He's there on purpose. He's a police there to start trouble and to give the image of the Negro as a failed personality. He does not function right. Even Islam don't help him. right? And then they fixed the thing about marriage. One of the imams out there, not far from here, Negroes used to like him a lot, and he was dealing with marital stuff. So I remember one guy got married, and in 2 weeks, he was coming to the imam for a divorce or something. What this guy said, he's not cracker, but you almost. What is wrong? He didn't say with y'all, because he considered me different. Yeah, poor guy. What's wrong with them? What's wrong with them? They get married, a solemn agreement, right? And in 2 weeks, they're ready to get a divorce. And I'm sure many of us in here have seen people get married, and a month later, it's all over, right? How can, maybe they didn't believe in the sanctity of marriage, that here we got to eliminate a whole lot of things before we talk about divorce. We got to try this and try that and all, right? Okay. We've been under so much attack in the United States, nobody would believe it. I'm sure y'all know about 5 or 10 things, but we've been hit by 1,000. And you have to be active to get a better picture of it, right? Because when you're active and when you're the target, you get hit by literally everything. And if you see somebody that's a real personality, right, that lasts over, let's just say 4 or 5 years, that is a real live gangster. Because they'll load up the masjid. You'll be talking to just 90% tattletales. You'll be talking to 90% tattletales. There ain't no sense getting mad at me. Go through our history. You'll be talking to 90% tattletales, and they don't have no, oh, I sure hate to be a tattletale. They don't do that. They're happy with it. They support each other. I think that's getting ready to change. Good old Don was a big help. Oh, Don is a help. At least he let you know you a nigger. And these is Peckerwoods over here. And I'm going to cause as much trouble between y'all as we can. I ain't going to be sitting around talking about, well, we want to strategize and rainbow coalitionize all of us and live in a happy America. You notice Don didn't talk like that. Don he was right up front. He was good for America. I know I liked him. I liked it. Oh, I said, I can't wait to, I hope you bring him back. If America lasts that long, let him run, you know what I mean, next time. Yeah, because if you think America's weak and limping now and have no friends, let him get back again, right? Hey, that's what you need. That's what we need. He's a big help. Anyway, let me speed up. So the untold history of the party and the people. Some few people have to survive to tell that story, and eventually they come up on a time schedule where they have to tell it fast because they're not teenagers anymore. So we have to give a rendition of what we've seen and what we've experienced. And in giving that rendition, we have to reach out to our young people, right? Because we have Islam, and we may not be verbally right in front of them selling it to them. We may be bringing Islam through black consciousness or whatever they want to call it, but it's going to be there, right? It's going to be there. We believe that's our honor and that's our privilege for this period of time. So we're going to be going around the country. We're going to be visiting and sharing CDs, DVDs, videos, everything we can to our young people, because they are susceptible to all of these tricks, and you show it to them on TV and they believe it. They don't have a history behind them. They're 20 years old. How are they going to know anything? Some of them are 18 even, you know. I remember a long time ago, our crew in L.A., some of them was born in like 81 and all. This is years ago. They was all UCLA. I said, you know, there's actually people that was born in 1981. Not for me, you know, it was a while back. He said, yeah, it was us. I realized, yeah, you guys, of course, that you'd have to, you know. So imagine there are people now born in 2005. Probably the university kid is 2005, right? That was last week to us, right? Tell the truth. 2005? Yeah, a couple of months back. That's the way you think. There was no time ago. 2005 is the other day. For them, it was the beginning of their life, right? What could they know if they don't happen to have a parent that survived, not only survived, but you have to be involved? Because you're not going to find out how the society is really functioning unless you're involved in trying to change the society. The more you involved in trying to change the society, the more you learn about the tricks and trials and tribulations of trying to change the society. So I'm going to move toward a close. But personally, I'm thanking Allah all the time for this whole life experience, to have a chance to live during the time, you know, and also being a part of each stage of development of the society, not a spectator, but a participant. That is a big deal. Okay, so we talked about the, whatever they call them, HBC, what do they call the black colleges like they got all around? Howard is one of them, and then, yeah, that's them. Yeah, we're going to introduce ourselves to them. At every meeting, if they don't invite us, we'll just stand outside and pass out videos of this talk right here. We're making a package right now of 8 videos because we had those. Yeah, we put them in those packages of 8. Some will be 6. But it'll be these types of messages. They need a chance, and we want to present that chance so that they will have an opportunity to at least survive in America. If we don't do that job, I don't see what progress they're going to make. Y'all ever heard of Hubert Harrison? Hubert Harrison. Nobody heard of Hubert Harrison? Well, the people here, they heard of Hubert. Hubert Harrison was with Marcus Garvey. They were both from down in the islands. But Hubert Harrison was, actually he died in 1927, but in that short life, he really grew and improved a lot. But he was a leftist, kind of like a socialist, and nobody ever heard of him. But he was big during his time. You know why nobody heard of him in modern times? And they heard of W.D. Du Bois and all of them people? Is because he was on the money. Right? He was on the money. And you could tell, right, when you read about his life, he was on the money. But he was too black. Not only he was black, but he was too black. If he was a socialist, he'd be telling them, y'all got to straighten up and do this way. Just like if we are Muslim, we tell the Muslim, no, we ain't doing that. I'm sorry. Well, we won't invite you around, if you talk like that, I say, don't nobody want to be around if you don't want us talking like that. Yeah, because who wants to go to H-E-double-L anyway? I'm not saying you going, but behavior, the Quran has categories of people. These people do da-da-da-da-da. And these people do da-da-da-da-da. These kind of the ones that got a chance of getting a book in their right hand, right? And those other people, they might get theirs in their left. Okay, there's no proof. I mean, you can't say, I'm in this crew and I'm going to get my book over here and you over there. You can't do that. But you have a smell, a sense that you kind of know where you are a little bit by what you do. Isn't that right? You know, hey, man, I ain't doing that. You scared of the white man. I'm not scared of him. And remember now, he done busted me upside the head. I was bleeding so bad and all that stuff. Try to steal your property. I'm not afraid of him. Because that's what he do. Okay, you can be afraid of him. Let me see if I got, I'm going to go on and close. I keep talking about I'm going to close. When you get a little older, you start rambling around and stuff like that. I'm trying not to ramble. That's what these notes are. But anyway, man from La Mancha. Anybody remember who that guy is? Man from La Mancha. Remember the guy, an old history that was going around fighting windmills? Yeah, fighting windmills. That was about an optimist. That was the main characteristic, that he was an optimist. And he spent his life trying to make a better world. And the picture of that is he was fighting windmills. That's what they was thinking. If you want to do right, sometime you have to adopt that position, that attitude. Because when you start trying to do good, you're not going to be that popular, generally, until the right time. You keep doing it, there'll come a time when it kicks in, when righteousness kicks in, you'll see everybody trying to head the right way. But you're going to be tried with that. You're going to be tested. Do you really, really, really want to do right? And that is a test of the ability to stand alone if necessary, and a few if possible. Yeah, you love everybody, but you're not dependent on them for nothing. You're dependent on Allah. When Allah want to change the hearts of even a Negro, that nigga's heart going to be changed. It's not that he can do anything about it. He can't. And the only vessel that can hold Allah, because hadith say, the polish for the heart is can anything hold Allah? But there's a polish for the vessel that has some ability like that, and that's the heart. And the polish for the heart is the dhikr of Allah. So you can't hold Allah, but there's a condition where there's little sparkles and sprinkles out there, right? That if you get them down pat, you can have an internal feeling about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the only thing we wanted to say, dear believers. Why not let's join that team? I don't see no teenagers in here, so we're not going to be around much longer, right? Why not say, I'm going to give it a shot? I've been listening to that man up there talking outside his mouth for years. I'm going to try it and see. I think, you can say, I think that Negro is lying. But I'm going to try it just to see, right? I believe the commercial. They told me to buy a new car, I go buy it. It's a commercial. I'm going to see if that nigga know what he talking about. I mean, I'm not going to go all the way, but I'm just going to stick my head in the door. Give it a try. Right? Hey, man. The only way to really get a sense that Allah is real is put yourself in a position where you need Allah. You know, right? If I got up on a 100-story building and jumped off and something snatched me up and saved my life, whatever that is, that's serious, right? I'm not saying to do that. But jump into the movement. And the movement will give you back. Islam will give you back a reward better than what you put in. This is just a guarantee. But you have to give it a try. You already know, if you work for Boss Man, he ain't going to give you a day off. He going to say, tell on your mama, tell on all them niggas, send them all to jail. Right? Do this, do that, right? He's not going to ask you, how do you feel today? Would you like to do a little snitching today? Right? No, Boss Man, I done snitched for years. I'm getting tired. My tongue is swelling up and everything. Right? Right? Tell the truth. Boss Man ain't going to give you no break. Nigga, didn't I tell you to go on over there and tell on all them niggas and make sure, and, you know, like Fred Hampton, if that nigga get out of line, you bring me pictures of his house and all the other people be around so I can come in if I feel like it and blow his head off. And the Negroes will do that, right? Not will do it, they do it then and now. Why not give it a try? I'm telling you, just see for a while. Just say, that man been up that line for 30-something years. I'm going to see, just tiptoe around Islam. You don't have to jump in all the way. Just tiptoe around a little bit. Real, hardcore, Quranic, hadith, historical Islam. Don't grab it all and start chewing it all up. Just tip around it a little bit and see what happens. Just tip around it a little bit and see what happens. Oh Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. We seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice us with what is lawful. Keep from us what is prohibited with thy grace. Make us free from want of what is besides thee.